Good afternoon. Today is the 26th of October 2021. Welcome to the lunchtime news here on TV1 for the News First team, the voice of the people. I'm Sanita Senanayaka. We have a packed bulletin lined up for you this afternoon, but first, let's take a look at your headlines.
Where is the Chinese Hippo Spirit fertilizer ship?
මෙම ප්‍රමිතියෙන් අඩු පොහොර බාර ගැනීමට ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජය සූදානම් නොමැති බව පැහැදිලිවම අපි මේ වෙනකොට දැනුම් දීලා තිබෙනවා.
Diesel and petrol imported from Singapore. Investigation launched into the delay in cleaning Sarakwa beach following the Express Pearl disaster. Universities to open from next Monday. One person dead in Kotikawat shootout.
Now on to those stories in detail. Demonstrations over the fertilizer crisis took place across the country today as well.
Today is the third day of the fast organized by 41 agrarian organizations of the Alahara Polonnaruwa Farmers Movement. The fast is staged near the Bakamuna Junction. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna MP Amarakirti Athakorala visited the location and engaged in a discussion with the farmers this morning.
Engage in cultivations this season. If you incur a loss, the government will compensate. That is not practical. How can they estimate our income? Who is going to determine that? If that fails, we will also take matters to the streets. At a ruling party meeting recently, people in Jaffna had said that they need it. We request you to try it. We voted for you. We don't represent a political party. This is our occupation. The tea prices are 200 rupees now.
The Kantale Vava supplies water to 22,000 acres of cultivation lands in 3 divisional secretariats. However, farmers and villagers point out that the water is wasted since cultivations are not taking place owing to the fertilizer shortage. National organizer of the All Ceylon Farmers Federation, Namal Karnaratna, visited the area today.
The government says the nanonitrogen fertilizer was brought from India. It has not been recommended to be distributed among farmers. Information has been revealed that this fertilizer was brought without carrying out proper tests. They conduct tests only after importing. Meanwhile, the cabinet approval has been granted to import petrol and diesel from a company in Singapore for an 8-month period.
Minister
Udaya Gamanpilla has presented a cabinet paper pertaining to the procurement agreement to import petrol and diesel for 8 months starting from the 1st of December to the 31st of August in 2022. Cabinet approval has been granted to give the agreement to the Vitol Asia Private Limited Company in Singapore after the relevant procurement process. At present, the public has a certain fear about a shortage of fuel. As the government, we can assure that a fuel shortage did not happen and will not happen in the future.
ඉදිරි කාල සීමාව තුලත් එවැනි ඉන්ධන හිගයක් ඇති නොවන බව අපි තාම වගකීමෙන් රජය හැටියට ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
Why did Indian billionaire Gautam Adani visit Sri Lanka yesterday? Journalists raised questions during the cabinet media briefing today.
We saw how Gautam Adani and his family members arrived in Sri Lanka. The group was seen in Manna as well. Are they here to discuss about the West Container Terminal as reported by The Hindu? What is the objective of this visit?
It has been reported that this is a private visit. It was also reported that the company will inquire into the investment opportunities in Sri Lanka. As you know, they have already expressed their willingness to construct the West Container Terminal. They may come to Sri Lanka to find out about the investment opportunities. An official statement has not been issued yet. It is the responsibility of the government to create a conducive environment for the investors. Sri Lanka needs foreign investments. It is important that foreign investments are attracted in order to resolve the dollar shortage in the country and to enhance development. Right now, when compared to other countries, Sri Lanka is one of the countries with less number of investors. It is the responsibility of the government to create a suitable environment and the proper infrastructure to attract investors.
ඔහු ප්‍රකාශ කළා තියෙනවා ලංකාවේ බලශක්ති ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ ඔහු ආයෝජනය කරන්න කැමතියි කියලා. ලංකාවේ බලශක්ති ක්ෂේත්‍රය විශේෂයෙන්ම පිටරට ප්‍රබල රටවල ආයෝජකයන් ලබා දෙනට වඩා බැරිද ලංකාවේ ඉන්න ඉතාම විශාල මහ පරිමාණ ව්‍යාපාර කරන ලංකාවේ ව්‍යාපාරිකයින් ඔවුන්ට ලබා දෙන මේ ආයෝජන අවස්ථාව
මෙම පුනර්ජනනීය බලශක්තිය.
The government has a clear stance on the renewable energy industry in the country. We have invited foreign and local investors for this. Everyone, including local investors, can present their proposals, including findings and feasibility studies.
Now, against a backdrop where farmers are protesting over the fertilizer shortage across the country, journalists raised questions whether the Chinese Hippo Spirit ship carrying fertilizer would enter the sea of Sri Lanka in a secretive manner at the cabinet media briefing this morning.
China fertilizer අර ප්‍රමිතියේ ප්‍රශ්න නිසා ඒක අපේ රජය ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කළා. නමුත් ඒ fertilizer ship එක ආපහු අපේ රට තුල ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. මෙම බලාත්කාරයෙන් ඒ ship එක අපේ රට තුල එන්න හේතුව මොකක්ද ඇමැතුමා?
ඊයේ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩල රැස්වීම තුල මේ
We did not hold any discussions regarding this yesterday. Already the chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority has given instructions not to permit this ship carrying substandard organic fertilizer to enter Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan government is not willing to accept this fertilizer. This has been made clear.
පැහැදිලිවම අපි මේ වෙනකොට දැනුම් දීලා තිබෙනවා.
නමුත් අපිට වාර්තානවා ඊයේ දිනේදී කෘෂිකර්ම අමාත්‍යවරයා ඇතුළු කණ්ඩායමක් ගිහිල්ලා චීන තානාපතිවරයා හම්බුණා කියලා. එතකොට මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් රජයේ ස්ථාවර වෙනසක් තියනවාද මොකක්ද ගන්න ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය ඇමතුමා ඇයි මේ හම්බුනේ විශේෂ කාරණයක්ද මේක?
ඇත්තටම රජයේ ස්ථාවරයේ වෙනස.
There is no change in the government's stance. As I said earlier, the Ports Authority chairman has given instructions not to allow that ship to enter Sri Lankan waters. We do not expect to import organic fertilizer of low standards to Sri Lanka. That is why we took steps to immediately import nano-nitrogen fertilizer. The government decided to import nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer from India. One bottle of nano-nitrogen liquid fertilizer is priced at 1,302 rupees and 18 cents. But the Sri Lankan government has purchased one bottle at 5,230 rupees. You have paid 3,527 rupees extra. On the other hand, when an international transaction is taking place, it should take place between two state banks of the respective countries. However, in this case, the transaction had taken place from one personal account to another. I would like to distinctively note that there was no fraud or corruption involved in this matter. There are investigations underway regarding this. We will be able to take a decision keeping an eye on the process of those investigations. But I have to say that claims you made about the price were false. Facts pertaining to these transactions will be revealed to the country with utmost transparency.
Moving on to a headline-making story this afternoon. Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, visited the Sarakua beach today to see why there is a delay in cleaning the beach following the Express Pearl tragedy.
A heated situation arose when a group of people attempted to clean the Sarakua beach before the arrival of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit. Thereafter, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit and Venerable Pahiyangal Anandasagara Thero arrived at the beach. This is our country. The ship owners will leave the country. We ask the government to launch an investigation into this incident which has caused great destruction to our country. Why was this ship burning for days? Why wasn't swift action taken in this regard? That is what should be investigated. I have filed a court case demanding compensation for the fishing community as well. The cleaning process has to be carried out in a proper manner as well.
During the fishing season, the nets have to be laid. How can they cast nets when the situation of the sea is like this? How can we do it when the sea is polluted? There is no point in holding discussions about this. We must exert pressure, and the fishermen have to raise their voices and ask that this issue be taken to the International Tribunal for a case against this company and the insurance company. They are trying to intimidate our officials and provide us with a very low sum as compensation. That will not work.
A father's love is protective and caring, surrounding our motherland with the protection and strength of a father is our ocean.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
In more local news, the University Grants Commission announced that universities will reopen in phases, prioritizing examinations and practical sessions.
Universities will be opened in a staggered basis. Exams and practical training will be given priority first. The Vice-Chancellors have the responsibility to decide which team in the relevant faculty must be given priority when calling to the universities in the first round. But medical and medical-related faculties will not be applied to this condition. Only students who received both doses of the vaccine can enter universities, and it is a must that 2 weeks has surpassed since they got the second jab. Close to 90% of university students are vaccinated. Since getting vaccinated is essential, the Health Ministry has agreed to provide the vaccine to students within their relevant universities. Only 25% of university students are allowed to enter university premises. We request the Vice-Chancellors to carry out academic activities without causing a disruption to the students who did not attend universities. This process can be followed when it comes to outside students as well. We request those students to get both doses of the vaccine before attending exams and lectures.
පසුව දේශනවලට සහභාගී වීම වැනි කටයුතු වලදී අනිවාර්යෙන්ම එන්නත් දෙක ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා දරුවන්ට අනිවාර්යෙන් ලබා ගන්න කියලා.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education states that it is monitoring the current progress in the country to start ordinary level and advanced level classes in schools. Primary sections in 9,190 schools have commenced. Under the third phase, we have been told by the health authorities to open O-level and A-level classes. After assessing whether the students go through health guidelines and the COVID-19 situation, we will make a decision.
Since the primary section of schools reopened yesterday, the attendance of students has been at a higher number. The attendance of students in the Sir John Kotulavala College in Kurunegala was higher compared to yesterday. Our correspondent said students were seen adhering to health protocols. The number of students that attended schools in the Matara district was higher compared to the previous day. The All Teachers Union said they will continue engaging in their strike action while educating the students. The All Secretary of the All Teachers Union, Joseph Stalin, said the next step will be taken this week after holding discussions with All Teachers Association and trade unions about the next step.
The Ministry of Health has requested the general public to limit public gatherings as much as possible as the country moves towards a new normal with the easing of restrictions. Despite the systematic easing of restrictions, the rate of COVID-19 infections in the future will depend on the movement, public gatherings and the good health practices. Easing of health guidelines should only be utilized for the benefit of socio-economic activities. I urge the general public to act responsibly.
මේ රෝගය පැතිරීමට තුඩු දෙන අයුරෙන් මේ කටයුතු වලින් වැළකීමෙන් තමන්ගේ වෘත්ති ආයතීන් දිනා ගැනීමට කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා ඉතා කාරුණිකව ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Commenting on wedding ceremonies, Dr. Hemant Herath instructed the people to always ensure that guests wear masks and follow good health practices.
Religious ceremonies were organized across the country today as well to commemorate the 3-month death anniversary of late chairman of the Capital Maharaja Group, Mr. R. Rajamahendran.
A special puja was held at the Sri Mahabodhiya in Anuradhapura. The residents of Gothamigama in Kataragama, who were beneficiaries of a water purification unit through Kammadda 3 years ago, held a puja at the Ashtapala Bodhi of the Kataragama Devalaya in memory of late Mr. R. Rajamahendran. An almsgiving was held at the Hambantuta Madunagala Aranya Senasanaya. Another religious event and an almsgiving was held at a viharaya in Hiniduma.
In your international news, Southeast Asian leaders have begun their annual summit without a representative from Myanmar after its top general was barred over the military's failure to follow a regional peace deal.
Neither Brunei, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations chair, nor the bloc's Secretary General made a mention of the no-show in the opening remarks at today's virtual meeting. In an unprecedented move, ASEAN on the 15th of October agreed to exclude Myanmar's military chief, who toppled a civilian government on the 1st of February over his failure to implement a peace process he agreed to with ASEAN in April towards ending the bloody political crisis triggered by the coup. The move was a rare, bold step by a regional grouping known for its non-interference and engagement. Two diplomats told foreign media that Brunei invited Myanmar's highest-ranking veteran diplomat Chan Ai as a non-political representative, but she did not attend. The move by ASEAN comes amid the previous government's ambassador to the United Nations, Kiem Montan, defying orders from his new military administration in Nau Bitao and rejecting the country's military takeover. He claims that he still represents Myanmar, while a deputy ambassador to the United Nations from Myanmar claims he is now the man the military authorities want to represent the country.
At least 7 people have been killed and 140 injured as thousands took to the streets in protest after Sudan's military seized power from a transitional government.
Thousands of people joined rallies against the military takeover on the streets of the capital Khartoum and its twin city of Omdurman after security forces arrested interim Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok and other senior officials yesterday. A health official said at least 7 were killed by gunfire. Troops are reported to have been going house to house in the capital Khartoum, arresting local protest organizers. The leader of the takeover, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, dissolved the military civilian sovereign council that had been set up to guide the country to democracy following the overthrow of longtime leader Omar al-Bashir in a popular uprising 2 years ago. Al-Burhan, who is also the head of the power-sharing governing council, declared a state of emergency across the country, saying the armed forces needed to ensure safety. He promised to hold elections in July 2023 and hand over to an elected civilian government then. The governments of the United States, the United Kingdom and Norway issued a statement last night expressing deep concern about the situation, condemning the suspension of democratic institutions and calling for the release of those arrested. The US has also halted $700 million in aid.
Taking a look at a headline-making story from here at home, one person was killed in a shootout in Kotigawatha.
Crime Watch.
42-year-old Nuan Milinda was gunned down and another injured in Delgahawatha Mull area this morning. The shooting took place at 6:30 this morning. Police spokesperson, attorney at law SSP Nihal Thaldoa said a 45-year-old person who sustained injuries in the shooting is receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital. SSP Thaldoa said that 2 suspects who arrived on a motorcycle had carried out the shooting. A police investigation is underway to ascertain the identity of the suspects and the motive behind the shooting. The investigation is conducted by the Divisional Crimes Detective Bureau, the West and South Divisional Crimes Detective Bureau and 2 other police teams under the supervision of the SSP in charge of the Nugegoda Division. The Mulleriava police is conducting investigations at the crime scene.
Crime Watch.
And that brings us to an end of this edition of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the News First team, the voice of the people, I've been Senita Senanayaka. Take care and stay safe.